Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for checking out the video. My name is Brian and behind me is my drift car that I'm currently in the middle of turbocharging. What comes with turboing a car is more fuel, and obviously to get more fuel you need a larger fuel pump, which is where I'm at right now. I just installed a 340 liter per hour pump in the car. Now what comes with installing a larger pump is a bigger draw for power that most stock harnesses just cannot handle. You're either going to continue blowing fuses to where you up them in size to where you're just going to start frying your harness. So what we need to do is give the fuel pump its own relay to make sure it safely gets the power when it needs it and we don't have to worry about that happening. Now this kit comes with everything you need. You have the directions with a diagram to wire it all up. You have the harness with plenty of wire that should stretch throughout the chassis. And you have the relay and a circuit breaker that you need to cut in line as well. Now the diagram they provide you with the kit makes this a very easy and painless install. You want to take the relay harness and mount it somewhere on the chassis, preferably close to the fuel pump. You'll take the small black wire that already has a crimped on ring terminal and ground that to the chassis. You will take this red wire and run it directly to the battery while also cutting in line a circuit breaker. You will take the small yellow and white wire, and this will be the new switch source to power the pump. You have two options for this. You can either run a toggle switch and you control when there's power, or what I'm going to do, which is what's recommended, is take the stock harness, the wire that is now currently powering the fuel pump. We're going to cut that and tie that into this switched wire, so that will now act as the switch for the relay, and then we'll take the bigger yellow wire, and this will be our new power for the fuel pump. So let's go ahead and find a good spot to mount this harness on the chassis. Now after browsing around for a little bit inside the car, I would really prefer to mount this closer to the pump itself, but there's going to be no clean way to do that without having it exposed. I could mount it up under the dashboard where I already have a lot of my ECU and things connected. So what I've decided to do is just mount the harness here inside the engine bay. I already have a riv nut that'll work perfect for the mount from an old catch can setup. I have the power distribution block over here that comes directly off the positive on the battery, and I have a ground strap right here for the engine harness. And what also is going to work out good is the holes here from the stock AC lines. I can just feed the wires from the harness down to and run straight back to the fuel pump. So we will feed all of the wires through these grommets where the AC lines used to be. Okay, so now we are inside the car. We have our thicker yellow wire that goes to the fuel pump and our smaller yellow and white wire that is our switch source. So we'll first run this wire straight to the pump itself, following the positive cable that I have running back to the battery. Now this yellow wire only runs to right about behind the passenger seat, so I'm going to extend this so we can run it up, following this line, go through the grommet, and then run it to the power side of the fuel pump. Now in order to get this the route that I want it to go, I'm going to feed this above the fuel tank and then go up underneath the car and feed it up through that grommet. The next thing we're going to do is route the signal wire. I originally was going to take this with the power wire and run it all the way through the cab to the fuel pump and connect it there. But what I ended up doing is snipping that power wire, the original one from the stock harness, traced it all the way back and underneath the dash. So I then rerouted this wire for that signal through the firewall underneath the dash where I will connect them. And this is that wire here. Again, this is the factory power wire that would go to the fuel pump. This is what turns the original pump on and off. This is now going to act like a switch. So the ECU will tell the relay through this wire when to turn on, and then our new power wire from the relay right off the battery will then feed the fuel pump. So the last thing we're going to do is remove the stock connector for the fuel pump. These are just 2 bullet connectors that pinch inside this clip. We're going to reuse the ground, and the original power wire was now dead at both ends. This is what we're using as a signal wire that we just hooked up underneath the dash. This is our new power wire with a bullet connector. So I will put these 2 back into the stock plug and we'll get it plugged in. Sweet. He might know what he's doing. Alright guys, so that's how you install a fuel pump relay. It's pretty universal for any vehicle. It doesn't matter what you're working on. There might be some minor differences, like the style of plug, or maybe you'll want to wire yours to a toggle switch, but the rest is all the same idea. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something. The next video is just going to be adding some ethanol and pushing the button and see if she'll fire up. So I'm super excited. Hope you guys will stick around for that one, and I appreciate you watching like always. See ya.